Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 4, representing to you a topic on cognitive development and mental health issues. This is the group YouTube project whereby my group members are one Muhammad Aqif, me myself, Sister Nurul Najwa, Sister Nur Sharmila, Sister Nur Atifah, and Sister Sulaikha. Here is the table of content. Okay, I will explain about introduction first. I would like to play this YouTube video first and let's enjoy.
Sink.
Float or sink?
Float.
Float or sink?
Okay, based on the YouTube video that I showed just now, what the father asked to his son? The father asked to his son whether the egg is float or sink, float or sink, float or sink. By asking this question, the son will start to be curious and start to think on his mind on what and why the egg is float and why the other egg is sink. During our childhood, our parents might ask us, why do we forbid you to play the scissor? Or what happens if you do not wash your hand before you eat, sons? So, by asking this question, the children will use their thoughts and deeply think for the reason in order to satisfy the parents' answer. And sometimes, if they cannot answer the question exactly as expected toward the parents, they will guess many answers. Eventually, the answers that are being provided by the children and their guesses has shown that they are developing their cognitive level. Thus, to explore and know more about these scenarios, let's see the details about cognitive development and theories behind it, and also how cognitive development is related to the mental health issue. What is cognitive development? Based on SAGE 2017, cognitive development derived from the word cognition, which it refers to the process of capabilities for acquiring and manipulating knowledge. According to Dodge, Walker, and Harman 2002, cognitive development refers to the mind and how it works, which involves how children think, how they see the world, and how they use what they learn. To summarize, cognitive development involves the mind and thought in order to understand and interpret one information. The children will use their mind and think wisely on the question being asked for them. They will think why this happened and why that happened in order to get the reason. Next, when we talk about cognitive development, it is not only focused on conscious process, but it also involves unconscious process. Let me give you an example. When we see a child plays a cat and he or she start to say meow to the cat, we as a normal people might see like it is a normal thing for a child to play the cat by saying meow to the cat. But the secret behind it, the child is now using his or her mind in order to think on how to attract the cat. This is the example of unconscious process. To know more about cognitive development, we have conducted a deeper research on this field. Let us see what are the objectives of this YouTube group project. So the first objective is we want to discover cognitive development based on Western and Islamic perspective. We also want to identify the current mental health condition of IIUM students, specifically during the pandemic COVID-19. The third objective is we want to investigate the major factors that contribute to mental health problems among IIUM students. And lastly, we want to provide the solutions that can help IIUM students in order to improve their mental health condition. Okay, for brief literature, I will highlight 3 points in here. The first one is about cognitive development. The second one is about factors affect cognitive development. And the third point is mental health relates with cognitive development. Okay, from previous slide, we have discussed what is cognition and what is cognitive development. But wait, what about development? What is development? Okay, so here we will understand what is development from the section of cognitive development. So, development means human's composition will change gradually from time to time when it refers to the cognitive development. When we talk about cognitive development, so the word development here holds that human's mind being changed and expand in the aspect of its structure, its function, and the ability of understanding certain things or information. We could see the children can think more wider when the age becomes increased time by time. Therefore, for the development here, we can see the ability of the brain functions become more wider in order to achieve the high level of cognitive development. Also, when the cognitive become more wider and more developed, we can see the children will have good mental structure whereby it helps the children and allow them to arrange things in serial arrays, maybe for example from shorter to tallest or from the ascending order to descending order. Also, when the cognitive level is being developed, we can see the children know how to organize and categorize some informations into a group. Next, the second part of brief literature is about factors affect cognitive development. There are so much factors that affect cognitive development, but here I want to highlight 2 factors that affect cognitive development. The first one is home environment and the second one is lack of vitamin B6. When we talk about home environment, Binti 2011 agreed that educated parents are most likely give better education needs compared to the parents with low education. Educated parents know the education is really important for the children to learn, and also they can spend more money just to send their children to the best school and to join the best program to help their children successful in academic field. We can see most of low educated parents are having less interest in education system and they tend to less care about their children's education. The second factor that affects cognitive development is the lack of vitamin B6. Some researchers found that when the children have lack of vitamin B6 intake, it will affect on the cognitive impairment. Based on a study that being conducted towards 60 years old participants in Ireland, Beer 2017 mentioned that insufficient vitamin B6 consumption may lead to cognitive deterioration in older persons, but other vitamin B had no such impact. So we can see that the importance of vitamin B6 is really high in order to help the cognitive development. Therefore, it is really important for the parents in order to help and give the children sufficient vitamin B6 to help their cognitive development and also to avoid the disturbance of neurological system. Let's see the third point in the brief literature, which is mental health relates with cognitive development. Okay, how mental health relates with cognitive development? Have you ever think about that? The relationship is we can see on the cognitive dysfunction. Cognitive dysfunction has previously been considered a secondary symptom of some diagnosed mental health illness. However, current evidence indicates that it is a primary symptom or core feature of schizophrenia and affective disorder. Therefore, we can see that cognitive dysfunction will lead to mental health problems. Some researchers agree that when the cognitive development is being disturbed or dysfunction, it will lead to the depression and also anxiety, and this is really worse to hear that. We can see when someone has depressed, so it affects on someone's skill and also the ability on thinking goodly. Also, when the cognitive development is being disturbed and do not function well, it will lead to the tendency of getting bipolar disorder and also can lead to the consequence of memory declination toward the survival. Therefore, it is really important for us in order to save and to ensure that our cognitive development is in a good condition and being well secure. Therefore, let's see what are the theories that can relate with cognitive development. What are the theories that being emphasized of cognitive development?
Now, we will proceed to theories of cognitive development. First of all, I will elaborate theories from Western perspective, and then after that, my friend will continue to explain about theories of cognitive development from Islamic perspective. From Western perspective, in the class, we have learned about Piaget's cognitive theory and Vygotsky's sociocultural theory. In Piaget's cognitive theory, Piaget argued that a child growth is based on the transformation of cognitive process. He divided into 4 distinct stages, which are sensorimotor, pre-operational, concrete operational, and formal operational stages. First, sensorimotor stage. This stage starts when the child is birthed until it turns 2 years old. At this stage, children are more likely to learn through their 5 senses, which are seeing, hearing, tasting, moving, and touching things around them. Next, pre-operational stage. This stage starts when the child is from 2 years old until 7 years old. In this stage, their thinking becomes intuitive and more egocentric since they are able to engage in operations that involve one-way thinking only. They develop their ability to think through objects and symbols that are represented in front of them and are unable to think about things that they have not seen or engaged in. Through objects and symbols, children may develop their language, memory, imagination, and logical thinking. After that, concrete operational stage. This stage starts when the children is at 7 years old until 11 years old. Piaget believed the concrete stage to be a crucial turning point in a child's cognitive development because during this stage, children started to develop concrete logical reasoning. In this stage, children manage to understand the concept of conversion of matters and become less egocentric. However, this stage is only useful when children are asked to reason about things that are physically present. But when it comes to hypothetical situations, children at this age are more likely to make mistakes. And lastly, formal operational stage. This stage starts when the child is at 12 years old until 15 years old. Children at this stage are considered adolescents. As adolescents, they manage to come up many possible solutions and assumptions when dealing with hypothetical problems. Furthermore, it can be said that this stage is when they begin to think more logically about the world and real-life problems around them. Now, let's see Vygotsky sociocultural theory. In Vygotsky sociocultural theory, he emphasized the importance of culture in cognitive development. He believed that learning would be more effective and learners could get more benefit through the help of more knowledgeable and expert people such as teachers and instructors. There are three main concepts that are highlighted in his theory, which are social interaction, language, and the zone of proximal development, or we can simplify as ZPD. First concept is social interaction during the learning process. In order for learners to develop their cognitive skills, it is essential for them to have an active participation and involvement with people around them. Through socialization, learners can socially share experience and learn from each other, as well as developing effective methods of learning through working together on a range of activities. Second concept is language. In child's cognitive development, children at age 3 manage to develop the private speech, which refers to the speech that is directed to oneself. They use private speech to speak out aloud their ideas, organize their thoughts, and interact with oneself. Then, when they turn 7 years old, the private speech transforms into the inner speech. At this time, children start to think internally and have an inner monologue with oneself, which is good for their cognitive development. And lastly, third concept is learning occurs within the zone of proximal development, ZPD. In ZPD, scaffolding is introduced for instructors or teachers to offer continuing assistance to learners during the process of learning and finishing a task that they are unable to perform on their own. Therefore, the instruction and guidance provided by the instructors through scaffolding allows learners to acquire abilities and techniques that they may later use on their own in different contexts, which this is a way of acquiring higher cognitive capabilities. So that's what Vygotsky said about cognitive development. Next, we will see the theories of cognitive development from Islamic perspective.
I will explain Islamic perspective on cognitive development. Islamic perspective on cognitive development, as given in the Quran, presents a wider view of perception. Islam recognizes three levels of human perception. These are the sensory, intellectual, and spiritual level. The perception of the spiritual level is different from the modern psychology. This meaning the spiritual level is absent from the modern psychology. Allah mentioned in Quran, and Allah has extracted you from the wombs of your mother, not knowing a thing and He made for you hearing and vision and intellect, that perhaps you would be grateful, from the Surah An-Nahl, verse 78. This perception can be attributed to the first sensory organ, or al-his, the mind, al-aqlu, the heart, al-qalb. Also, Islamic definition of cognitive development goes beyond the individual cognitive ability to manipulate and adapt to the environment. It includes the individual knowledge of his creator, Allah, his perception of his duty and rights toward Him, and the extent to which he discharges them in terms of worship to Him. From an Islamic perspective, 9 stages has been extracted from the verse and hadith. Each level has been extracted and attempt has been made to support it using the relevant verse or hadith. Of cognitive development from Quran and hadith. The first stage is Sinul Idrak al-Hissi, or period of sensory perception, from birth to 2 years. This stage is primarily distinguished by sensory perception through the 5 sets of organs which provide information to the mind. And for the second stage, At-Tufallatul Mubakkirah, or early childhood, start from the 2 years until 7 years. At this stage, children at the age of 7 should be commanded to pray. For the stage 3, Sinnul Tamyiz, or At-Tufallatul Mutaakhirah, period of discernment or later childhood, from 7 until 10 years. At this stage, the age of 7, he or she begins to distinguish what is true and what is wrong. Muslim scholar said this is as mukhallaf, and the children will be punished if they miss prayer at this stage. For the stage 4, individual cognitive development begins to take on a more formal pattern. We call it as Sinul Murahaqah, or period of early adolescence, from the 10 until 15 years. For the stage 5, Sinul Bulugh, or age of puberty, or youthful age, are start from the 15 until 13 years. At this stage, the human beings have reached other cognitive development and they become more mature. At this stage 6, Sin Bulugh Ashad, or period of full physical and intellectual strength, or complete intellectual development. From this stage, the man has completed the intellectual development. This stage starts from 3 until 40 years. At the stage 7, Sinul Tawaquf, or period of constancy in cognitive development, from 14 until 16 years. This stage where the scholar said that which no further progressive development. And for the stage 8, Sinul Shaykhati, or old age, from the 60 until 80 years, the mental function become gradually decrease and become more blurred. And for the last stage, Ardalul Umuri, or feeblest old age of senses, from 80 years and above. This period, which mental degradation becomes more and more obvious, particularly. Next, I will explain on Muslim scholar opinion on cognitive development. We will see on Al-Mawardi opinion and Al-Ghazali opinion. First, Al-Mawardi said that human knowledge can be divided into 2. The first one is Al-Aqlul Gharizi, or natural knowledge, where primordial or infant mind and the single creation by which man was distinguished from the animals. It is said that this natural knowledge is bestowed from Allah or the God. It is the primary foundation of awareness, experience and perception, and is bestowed on the human mind. The second knowledge is al-aql muktasab or acquired knowledge, where this knowledge are learned through experience and instruction. It is the culmination or achievement of knowledge, and this knowledge is developed when it is put to proper use and retards when it is not put to proper use. Next, the Al-Ghazali said that the term knowledge can be divided into 4 categories. The first one is Al-Aqlul Warithi, or naturally bestowed intellectual ability. Okay. Like Al-Mawardi, Al-Ghazali said that this attribute endowed human man that distinguish him from the animals. And the second is Ilmud Daruri, or knowledge of the fundamental facts of life, or what we call is knowledge of truth, where this can be understand the potential of the feasible and the impossibility of the impossible is key to this knowledge. For example, understanding two is larger than one. Okay. The third one is the information gained through experience, where the sensible individual has been groomed or trained by the experience, and at this stage, anyone who lack of this knowledge is referred to as an idiot or an uneducated person. Okay, the last stage is where the ability to examine things and events in their consequence, where the intellectual has direct effect on morality, and the individual who has attained this condition no longer acts according to passion, but rather according to the end of consequent action. And achieving this attitude is the end of intellectual progress according to Al-Ghazali.
Regarding the concept of cognitive development that has been explained, having a mental illness could bring a negative impact on someone's cognitive abilities. Hence, our group has conducted research related to mental health issues. The study on the current mental health condition among undergraduate students of International Islamic University Malaysia IIUM throughout the pandemic COVID-19 has been conducted by our group using a survey research and interview research. For survey research, the online survey was conducted between 15 May and 20 May 2021 using a cross-sectional survey. The target participants for this survey was sampled from undergraduate students of IIUM. The survey was completely voluntary and the participants were informed that their response would be kept confidential. Furthermore, the research instrument used in this study is an online survey form, which is Google Forms. A survey invitation was sent to students via WhatsApp message. Moreover, the survey adopted quantitative questionnaires to collect the statistical data that consists of 2 parts, whereby the first part about basic demographic questions like gender and year of study. Meanwhile, the second part consists of 10 main questions such as the factors that affect their mental health and preferred solution. Next, for interview research, a structured online interview was held on 21st May 2021. This structured interview used to find out the solutions that can help undergraduate students of IIUM to improve their mental health conditions. It was conducted with the counselor of IIUM Kuantan campus as our target participant. The interview was held using an online platform through Zoom meeting. The response were recorded through note-taking and video recording with the participants' consent. Besides, the qualitative questionnaires were addressed during the session and they consist of 6 main questions and 2 closure questions. Now, we come to the part of results and discussion of the study for both survey and interview research. For survey results, as mentioned before, there are 2 parts of questions, which are demographic questions and main questions that related to mental health issues. For demographic questions, it was found that the majority of the respondents were female, and most of them were between the age of 21 to 22 years old. Most of the respondents are students from Kuliah of Science. Next, in terms of past schooling, the majority of respondents had previously attended boarding schools and also come from low-income socio-economic backgrounds.
Here are the results for 10 main questions that being asked in the survey. So, this is for the first question, second question, third question, fourth question, fifth question, sixth question, seventh question, eighth question, ninth question, and the last question we asked about overall mental health condition during pandemic COVID-19 among participants.
Okay, for the interview result, okay, we have interview session with senior psychology officer in IAM Kuantan campus, and this interview was conducted on 21st May 2021, and the session has long about 30 minutes in Zoom meeting and was recorded in Zoom. For the interview's name, the name is Madam Rina Suryani binti Arif, where she was graduated from IIM with a degree in psychology and master in education, guidance and counseling. And she had experience as counselor for 16 years until now in IIM Kuantan campus. Before we go further, we must understand the situation on the mental health issue. What are we having right now? So, as we know, we are in the COVID-19 pandemic. The students are now staying at their home, and some of them are also staying at the campus. As a lot of change will be done by the government, it affects many group of people, including the students. Since we are in the COVID-19 pandemic, students are now mostly having their class online at their home, and some of them may be at the campus. So, some students might have problems during the ERTL, such as having internet connection problem, financial or academic problem, and others problem. So, for the first main question, we asked Madam Rina how frequently do students seek support from the counselor regarding their mental health problem in a month. She answered that I can say that it is mostly frequent. She also added that counselor not only deal with mental health students but also deal with normal life problems, and also students who are highly stressed will come and see the counselor. Not all sick because mental health. Some also have adjustment issues and plans also. Okay, for the second question, we ask, is there any increment in the number of students who are facing mental health problems during this pandemic? Let's hear Madam Rina answer.
Okay, I cannot say that increasing. Okay, for me, this is normal that people need counselor and talk about their mental health. Okay, so what I can say that during this crisis, it can trigger to certain people to have mental health issues. Okay, so because social isolation, which is I will discuss more in the next session, and the second because we living with our family alone. Okay, again, it's related to social isolation, meaning that we have time to think about problem more. Okay, for example, another things that when, for example, they have relationship issues. Okay, maybe before the pandemic, they can survive because they can meet a lot of people. But during the pandemic, they need to stay indoor. They need to have quarantine, so they have a lot of plenty time to think about their problem. So what I conclude that I cannot say that the increasing number, but what I can say that the pandemic trigger people to think about their mental health, trigger people to maybe to live more in their problem. Okay, so therefore they seek counselor because that the only thing that available for them to share their problem.
Third question, what is the most influential factor that affect IUM student mental health condition before and during pandemic? So, let's hear the answer.
Okay, before and after mental
Yes.
health, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, maybe before pandemic, students have high expectations on themselves. Okay, especially students who excellent from primary school. Okay, they did not fail and they did not facing any failure. Okay, during their academic time. Okay, so they cannot tolerate with their fail everything. Okay, and during the pandemic, the most factors are social isolations lah. Because when you are at home, when you are living in this condition, you less interaction with friends, so it can they can have lack of social support.
The main question 4, how will mental health problem affect students' cognitive development if the students do not seek any help? So, the interview said that they tend to forget easily and lack focus in the class. She also added that depressed students will have difficult to sleep and cannot make decisions. So, she advised that the student should not diagnose by themselves and students should seek for help immediately if it was getting worse. Also, we also doing the survey, and from our survey, 30% from the respondents said that the main problem of mental health during this pandemic is about the work overload. So, we asked the interviews what is the solution for this problem. So, what are the effective solutions that can be suggested in order to help
Effective
these
solutions,
students?
yeah. Okay, the first thing is that you need a break lah. Okay, you need a break. Kita kena tahu how our brain functions. Okay, so and then kita kena betul-betul ada healthy routine lah. Healthy routine seperti exercise. Okay, pagi-pagi. Okay, kita kena ada routine yang kita buat untuk diri kita, self care lah. Okay, yang dan seterusnya kita kena improve communications dengan lecturer kita lah. Kita kena berterus terang, okay, apa halangan kita, okay, apa cabaran kita, apa yang kita sedang alami, okay. Healthy lifestyle, ya, amalkan pemakanan yang sihat, kena ada exercise, walaupun stay indoor, okay. Dan dapatkan perkhidmatan counselling, proper treatment dan positive daily routine tu lah pun kena ada, macam menulis. Okay, dan kalau terlalu overloaded sangat, you kena tahu apa priority.
Okay, we end this interview session with 2 closure questions, whereby we ask the interviewee, how can you relate this mental health issue in the Islamic perspective? So, she replied us with this answer. She said, as a human being, Islam do not deny on someone's feelings. Based on what she said, we understand that as human beings, it is normal for us to feel sad, to feel anxious, to feel scared at some time. Maybe we face a lot of problems in our life, so it is okay for us to have those feelings. But as a good Muslim, we need to know on how to manage our feeling very well in order to be a better version of us. As Allah mentioned in the Quran, will test the human with sadness. For the closure question, we asked the interviewee, do you have any advice for IIUM students to help their mental health? So, let's see What is her response?
For IIM students, so of course this pandemic gives us a lot of impact in our daily life, but still we have strategies to cope with situations lah. Okay, so practice healthy lifestyle sangat berguna. Dan kalau if you have anxious, limitlah penggunaan sosial media. Okay, kalau you rasa stres, you rasa resah, gelisah apabila melihat berita-berita yang kurang menyenangkan, so you can limit your social media. Dan at the same time, jangan lupa practice healthy lifestyle dan stay connected with your friends even you are at home.
Okay, based on the advices, I really hope that IIUM student can get benefit from this video. She also mentioned and advised IIUM student to practice a good lifestyle and also to limit the usage of social media when you get anxious. That's all for the interview result.
So we come to the discussion part. Okay, as we know, this study was carried out to investigate the students' mental health condition from IIUM. And as addressed earlier, mental health has become a great concern of students universally, no matter where they are come from. And it should be given extra attention from all parties that involved in education industry, including the government, the school, teachers, and also parents. This is all the most important one because they are the one that will determine the country's future scores. Hence, this research was conducted with the main aim of determining the IIUM students' overall mental health condition, what the major factors contribute to this condition, and how they should manage it. In addition to that, we found out also about how mental health issues affect cognitive development. So, as we mentioned earlier, we have come out with the survey research and also interview research in order to collect data quantitatively from the student themselves and also qualitatively from one of the expert IIUM counselor. Okay, now we move to the first part, which is about overall mental health condition. Okay, from the finding on the survey conducted, the data shows that the majority of the students had a relatively moderate mental health status. But along with that, we noticed that there were also quite a lot of students who were suffering with poor mental health condition, which was about 32 out of 120 respondents. Technically, the absence of mental illness is not the only indicator of good mental health. Actually, it's economic success, greater social relationship, healthier lifestyle, and a lower risk of physical illness that are correlated to good mental health. Okay. Basically, it is good mental health that allows us to enjoy our life. But we know that everyone experiences life in different way, and most of people will experience worry, anxiety, stress, and even depression as a result of situation in life. And everyone's risk and influential factors are diverse and they may alter over time, such as when they are a child, a teenager, an adult, or even older adult. Okay, next. Okay, so regarding our studies, it can be found that most of the respondents of the survey agreed that heavy workload is the most influential factor that really affects their mental health condition. Okay, this is because an increased workload puts so much stress and pressure on the students, such as assignment, quizzes, tests, and many more. Especially in this pandemic era whereby most of them are struggling alone in their house. So they have lack of support from their friends and even lecturers because we are having a lockdown in our house, so we cannot meet each other. In addition to that, they believe that the environment and sleep deprivation also have negative impact on their mental health, which we can see from the result in the second and third place respectively. as we have shown before. Okay. Negative environments such as having problem, conflict, lack of motivation can discourage individuals from having positive thought, whereas having lack of sleep will interfere with someone's ability to think, concentrate, and even spoil the mood. We must take note that having sufficient sleep is one of the most essential part in our life. Okay, now we move to the next part. Okay, in relation to the survey, other factors that can interfere students' mental health condition has been observed during the interview session. Okay, it can be seen that before the pandemic, commonly students will have higher expectation of own self, especially for those excellent students from previous school. They tend to strive more and more in order to fulfill the expectation, and eventually will affect their mental health. While during this pandemic crisis, mental health issue might be triggered among students when they are frequently self-isolated. This is because they tend to have more time to think about their problem because they are alone most of the time. And when they are at home, they will live with the same people, so they will have little social engagement and less interaction with other friends or other community. So as a result, they will receive less academic support from others, and this will contribute to the low mental health condition. Another one is that commitment as children can also contribute to mental health problem among students. This is because they need to balance their time between studies and work needed to be done as children, which could really put students under stress. And lastly, the difficulty of getting proper treatment is also one of the factors that can affect their mental health condition. This is because it's quite hard for them to seek treatment physically at the hospital or clinic during this pandemic. As a result, they lack of treatment in order to overcome their problem. Next, moving on to the next part. How mental health issues can affect cognitive development. Okay. When individuals face mental health problems such as anxiety, depression, it will disrupt cognitive abilities. This is due to the fact that it can impair attention, memory, information processing, and decision-making abilities. And after that, most of the time, they will have disordered thinking that can make them difficulties in sleeping, thinking, learning, and making judgment. As a result, they will have problems in their daily life. They will have tendency to forget things easily and quickly lose focus in class. They also find it hard to make decisions on something and complete their daily responsibilities as students, such as doing assignment, tasks, and so on. Sooner or later, this problem might worsen if they do not seek treatment. So, what is the solution to improve mental health condition? Majority of the respondents from the survey choose sleep as the best solution for them, according to the survey conducted. However, from the perspective of a counselor from the interview session, it has been suggested that sleep is not really a sufficient solution for them because having too much sleep can also cause trouble for them. What the students recommended to do is that first thing first, have a break. Okay. They need to give time for brain to function properly. And then the second one is that they need to create a healthy lifestyle, such as good morning routine, have relaxing exercise, and positive activities such as painting, drawing, reading, and many more, which they are not restricted only to study so that their mind and body can rest for a while. Thirdly, they need to improve communication with lecturers. They should be honest to inform the lecturers about difficulties that they have encountered and their current condition, so that the lecturer can take note and consider about their condition when deciding about something. Following to that, the fourth step is to get appropriate treatment and counseling in order to have a proper solution recommended by the expertise. And during this pandemic, students can also make appointment for the consultation with the counselor or with the doctor through online platform instead of having face-to-face meeting. Although it's not really effective like having face-to-face meeting, but it somehow can help students to reduce and overcome their problems slowly but surely. Okay, so that's all for discussion.
Now we have come to our conclusion. To sum up, cognitive development is important to ensure the mental capabilities are functioning well, including working memory as well as perceiving information. As we know, Piaget and Vygotsky got different valuable insights on cognitive development, whereby exploration and discovery were important aspects of learning cognitively for Piaget, but social relations as a key for Vygotsky. However, having a mental illness could have a negative impact on someone's cognitive development, especially. Thus, the study's findings give evidence for the major concerns and obstacles that students face when it comes to mental health during the pandemic. Poor mental health conditions can have an impact on all aspects of students' life, including their physical health, academic achievement, and social life. So, students should keep their mental health as a priority to make sure their brain is not suffering and able to function very well. Hence, it is advisable for us to take care of our well-being, especially during this pandemic COVID-19, by trying to not ever bottle up the stressful thoughts and reach someone to share with.